Okay, we're going. It's your girl Jetty from Word Revolution. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? I hope everybody is blessed. Shabbat Shalom to those of you who observe the Sabbath on Saturday. Um, I want to talk to you guys about something that I probably have touched in on other videos because a lot of the message that I come with is a consistent message. Right? So I'm called to speak on it when I'm called, but a lot of it's going to overlap because it's kind of like John the Baptist ran around, repent, 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 right? Like that was his message. So, my message is like get your mind out, right? Get your body, get your mind, get your spirit out of the system of Babylon, which modern culture. So, I want to talk today about. There were a couple of things that went down. Before I do that, let me see if I can share this so that folks can get in here. So just give me 1 second if you'll bear with me. I'm going to try to share it. I guess looks like we're working. Okay. So a few things. I was involved in a few discussions that have led me to realize that we need to talk about this again, family. Now, I know, like I said, I've mentioned it in other conversations, and I've posted about it. I've been engaged in some public discussions, but I guess I need to dedicate a little time specifically to this topic, so we can just, for those that want to be fed, they can partake. Y'all know I don't do a lot of arguing back and forth and this and that. People think I'm closed-minded. I'm very closed-minded when it comes to ignorance. You're not gonna feed me your ignorance, right? So I don't listen to it. I don't give space for it. So anybody that takes issue with what I'm about to drop, it's just because you lack understanding of what's really going on. And I'm sorry that sounds egotistical. I don't own the understanding. It moves through me, but the truth is the truth, right? And so there was this meme going around Facebook, and the meme was like, or maybe it's not a meme, it's like a post or something, but basically it's like, stop telling black kids that are smart and get good grades that they act white, right? So there's that. And then I was in this discussion where I was downtown here in downtown Punta Gorda today in Belize, and there was a group of people who were educating the people on the ICJ, which is the International Court of Justice. The Belize is deciding whether it will go to the International Court of Justice in regards to this claim that Guatemala has for a good portion of Belize, like southern Belize. Guatemala wants to swallow it up. And whether that's a legitimate claim or not, I'm not here to discuss that because that's complicated, right? But what happened was in that environment, I got involved in a discussion with a friend about the Queen, right? And whether or not she is a friend of Belize and whether her continued dominion over Belize is a benefit or a detriment. You heading over?
Let's not leave it like that, so see, I don't pay the door.
Okay.
Give it another coat.
Beautiful. All right. Pardon me, guys, having a little work done. I was talking to my homie that's doing some stuff. Y'all know I'm having a little guest house built in my back. Huh? Yeah, of course. Pardon me. So we got involved in this discussion about the Queen and whether or not the Queen's dominion over Belize was a benefit or a detriment, and whether or not it was safe to go to the International Court of Justice. And that led to me saying, well, black people and black nations have never gotten justice in those colonizer court systems. And my friend took issue with that and was like, well, there's black people that are judges in that at the UN too, right? And so I had to again have the same kind of discussion that I was having in regards to the Facebook page, where, can you please be mindful, be quiet? Thank you. Where, wow, look, he's actually doing it by himself. So the question is, so let's back it up to the Facebook post, okay? I took issue with the post because when we say stop telling our kids that get good grades and are smart that they act white, I understand the emotion around that, right? And so I know that it feels like something to the smart kid to be called acting white. I've always been the smart kid. I know you're shocked, right? But I've always been the gifted smart kid. I've always been the token brilliant black kid in the room and brilliant black person in the room. That's kind of my story, right? And so I was the kid that was always called white. I had a woman I was with for some years who used to say to me, I fulfilled her white girl fantasy, right? So I understand the pain that one experiences when your peers and counterparts align you with whiteness because of your educational prowess, right? But the fact of the matter is, what we even consider to be smart is a reflection of our colonized minds. What we consider to be brilliant is a reflection of our colonized minds. Now, that I'm not saying that I'm not brilliant, right? But I'm going to tell you that my brilliance was much more, recognized and celebrated when I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And when I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid, suddenly my brilliance was turned to madness, foolishness, rebellion, divisiveness. All of these other things got attached to my brilliance when I wasn't supporting that system, right? So, hey, mama, I'm so glad you're here. So, wow. And I see that 2 people are in the room. Welcome, whoever's in the room. Moan, we got, I'm going through it up in here because, okay, so I was, and you, Simone, are one that knows and understands what I'm talking about here. I know because I know you're brilliant and smart, and I know that the extent to which you use that brilliance and smarts to support colonizer agendas, right? That's always the extent to which we're considered smart and brilliant. And when we decide to divest from that, now we're not called brilliant, we're not called smart, right? Like, you don't call the drug dealer smart, right? You don't call the kid who takes $5 of allowance money, buys a bag of weed, sells that bag of weed, buys another bag of weed, bigger, until he's eventually a drug kingpin. We don't call him smart, right? We call him a criminal, a thug. We call him all these names. Exactly, right? We call him all these names, right? But if he takes that smart and he goes into business school and he learns that in order to do good business, you have to cheat someone. He learns the way that the colonizers do business, right? Which now has become where people will say, if I rob you in business, if I take advantage of you, they'll be like, well, that's good business. The point is to make $1, right? So we would consider him smart as long as he's doing it the way the colonizers have outlined for us to do it. But if he does it a different way, if he applies that genius to his own methods, then he's not smart. He's a criminal, right? And so when people see these highly celebrated youngsters in the world of academia, and they look at them and they say, you're acting white, you're talking white, you're thinking white, they're not associating with their intelligence. They're associating it with the fact that their intelligence is in line with the white agenda. Their intelligence they've learned to acquiesce, to conform to the system. And so the smart kid in the class who is disrupting that, right? Disrupting the lesson, right? Like, let's do history. Let's just take history. History is a wonderful example. Now, the teacher can stand up in the class and teach all the lies that they teach in history class. The kids that pass the test are the ones that we're going to say are really smart. The kids that don't pass the test because they don't answer the question the way the teacher taught them, but they answer the question according to real history, they're going to get an F on that test, right? And the teacher is not going to say, your kid is so smart, they failed my test. They know more about history than I do. No, the teacher is going to say, your kid is disruptive. Your kid is rebellious. They're going to have all of these other names now for that smart kid. The smart kid is the one who will be able, the one that's going to be labeled as the smart kid is the one who has learned how to apply their smartness in a way and to the benefit of the colonizers' agenda. And so to be angry with people who recognize that and who see that once your children become, it's like, how many times do we have to see what happens when our people excel in different fields, right? What happens to them? There's a reason people have always called them sellouts. Why? Because the further up those ladders you go, the more of your own cultural identity, the more of your own cultural concerns, the more of your own cultural interests and agenda you have to leave behind in order to more effectively navigate those arenas. The one that goes according to the program is celebrated. Exactly, right? So not until we recognize that can we heal from that, and can we truly celebrate our geniuses. Because to call the children that get the good grades the geniuses, and to call the children that won't sit still and listen to the lies for 5 minutes stupid, right? It's like the same thing that we do with like who we consider to be criminals, right? We consider people to be criminals who go against this criminal system, right? So the system is completely corrupt. Everyone knows that. But if you challenge it, you become the criminal. If you buy into it, you become celebrated, right? So, like, Malcolm X was a bad, terrible guy. Nobody was calling him brilliant and bright or anything, right? And then when he went and he came back and he had like this kind of humanistic thing and he got a little kind of washed down his thing, it's like, oh, Malcolm X was really on to something. But, you know, they couldn't really hijack his thing because he was like, he had a way too strong Black Power movement behind him. Them folks was like, look, you know. But let's look at Martin Luther King. Nobody was talking about what a great guy he was when he was talking financial empowerment of Black people, right? That got him taken out of here. And then they hijack his message and then they turn it into this humanistic message. And that is celebrated. Now he's smart, he's genius, he's brilliant because he had this dream, right? No one is talking about the fact that he said that dream was a nightmare before he died, right? Look, my dream was a nightmare. I sold y'all out. I'm sorry. Retreat, right? We don't get that part of the story. Why? Because those aren't associated with his brilliance. His interests, him serving the interests of his people isn't associated with brilliance. It's only associated with brilliance to the effect that it serves the agenda of the oppressor. I read this story a few months ago. It was in Facebook, right? I read it on Facebook, but it was like in some world news outlet. And it was like this. Fake doctor performs 11 successful surgeries, goes to prison. You're not a fake doctor if you can perform 11 successful surgeries. You're a real doctor. Why were they calling him a fake doctor? Because he didn't pay the colonizer for a license to give him permission to say that he would do it their way and that he was okay with them. So rather than say, this is a real self-trained doctor who's had done all these successful surgeries, we will say he's a criminal and he shouldn't have been operating on people. It's absurd. It's like the same thing that they did to Dr. Sebi, right? Now that was a deep case because Dr. Sebi was like curing things, curing this, curing that, curing everything. And the international medical associations took him to court. And like, you can't tell people you're curing anything, right? Prove it. So he did. He proved it. He had them with their independent doctors examine and test all of these patients for these different diseases that they had been diagnosed with, right? They had been independently diagnosed before they came to him, right? With all kind of stuff. And they had their diagnosis, and then they went to him and he said, okay, go test them. So they went and they tested them, and they could not find any signs of these diseases that they had been diagnosed with. So he won that case. He won the case because, like you said, prove it. He proved it. Well, what happened after that? Did they then celebrate Dr. Sebi and say, this healer is curing people of all of these diseases? No, what they did was kill him and spread this ridiculous lie that he developed pneumonia in a matter of less than 24 hours in the jail cell that they held him in and died of pneumonia. Like, this is what we're talking about, right? So that doctor that's doing all of this healing that doesn't go through the colonialist avenues is going to be called a quack, is going to be called crazy, is going to be called all of these names. While the one who you're going to go to, wherever you're at, you're going to go to the doctor, and they've been well trained and they've got degrees and plaques on the wall and this and that, but they're literally poisoning you to death. They're going to be considered a great, great doctor, wonderful, fabulous. They're going to have accolades. They're going to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they're going to be highly celebrated. And so we cannot come out of that system until and unless we recognize that the people who see that when they're little, see the child starting to identify with the agenda of the colonizers, see the way that they are using their brilliance, the way that they are identifying their brilliance with the white lies. And when we call that out and say, you are acting white, we need to recognize that and address it accordingly, rather than point the finger at that person and call them like a racist or mean and all of this. Look, the fact is, it's going to feel mean to a lot of people, the work that we have to do to correct our thinking and to get free. It's going to feel really mean because we are used to getting pats on the back for stuff that we have no business doing. No business. I was talking to this gentleman about Belize, right? Remember I mentioned that in the beginning. And so his position was that, yeah, the Queen raped us, raped the land, killed us, murdered us. They did that here for a little while, but they didn't do it for that long. And now our dollar is pretty strong. And the only reason our dollar is strong is because we're associated with the Queen. If we didn't have the Queen, our dollar would be worth nothing, like places like Venezuela. And so she actually did us a favor to come and colonize us. And we're not ready to be independent, because if we were truly independent of the Queen, no one would want our money. And I'm like, but people were living here before they came here, and they were living prosperous and peaceful lives, right? So how did she do you a favor? Well, because now our money, right? Like, it always goes back to money, right? Now our money is valued. We didn't have money then, and now we have money. You didn't need money there then, and you still don't need money. You still have the natural resources. You still own the land. And so they didn't do you any favor. They did themselves a favor, because now what they're doing is they're printing this money that's worthless. They have ownership and power and control over your resources. You have to go get her permission. Listen, I had this project I wanted to do with the Ledge Group, guys. Check out the Ledge Group. They're doing awesome, awesome work, y'all. You shouldn't have a problem finding any of their content. I flood my page with their stuff, or I should say our stuff, because I am a Ledge member and I'm the head of the Caribbean operations with this. At this point, do not exist formally, but trust, we are doing work here also. We're just not officially doing anything here. We got some kinks to work out. But anyway, so the Ledge Group was going to do a project here, and we had the support of this particular village. The people, they were like, yes, let's do it. Well, the project called for 50 acres of land. Well, it got stalled because the village could not give permission to use 50 acres of land, of the village land. And mind you, the land belongs to the village, right? The land belongs to the village, but they did not have permission. The law says that anything that uses more than 25 acres must be approved by the queen directly. So there's like a whole protocol you got to go through. You got to write into this one and that one and that one and this one. And it goes, and then they send word back. Yes, you may use your 50. Yes, you have permission to use your 50 acres in your indigenous village according to your own agenda. Or no, you may not use your 50 acres in your indigenous village for your agenda because the queen says no. And who is that benefiting? But these people believe that the queen benefited them because when you come to Belize, people say good morning to you when they walk by, and they think that the British taught them that. I said, have you... the Queen of England, okay? The old bat reptile over there. That's who. She's on every piece of currency in Belize. She's on every piece of currency. So they're not really an independent, I swear and promise you. So they're not even an independent country. And listen to this one. So we wanted to do this beach development thing, which we're still going to do. Trust and believe, because my God don't bow to that queen. She don't mean nothing to the Most High. Okay, he said do it, we finna do it. So she's either gonna line up, die, something gonna go down, but we're gonna go forward, right? That I know. But we were presenting it to this town, and the people were like, yes, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And then someone kindly reminded everyone, 30 feet, everything 30 feet from the shoreline is the Queen's land. You can't develop anything within 30 feet of the shoreline without permission from the Queen. This is like, I'm like, what queen? Like you moaned just now, like, queen, what queen? Which queen we talking about? Me? I'm a queen. I showed up. I said we do it. No, the Queen of England. It's the Queen's land. They literally call it the Queen's land. Right? So, and they think that it's a favor. So they think that I said, when he said that, well, if the queen, when you go to somewhere like Guatemala, right, or Mexico, you walk down the street, people don't say good morning, people don't say good evening. He says they taught us that in school, and that was the queen, influence that taught us that in school. I don't think so. I've been to Africa. I've met indigenous peoples all over the world. We live in villages. We could not only do we good morning each other, but we share children, we share resources. Like, what is you talking about? The queen did not teach you to be neighborly. The queen did not teach you that. Your ancestors are disgusted that you think that the queen taught you manners, taught your people manners. They truly believe that they were savages when she showed up and that she civilized them. Right? This has to stop, family. This has to stop. No more nice guy stuff and no more of this like pretending things are something that they're not. He said, well, she took advantage of us at first, but now we have the benefits. I said, what are the benefits? That was what he answered as the benefits, that their money is a strong dollar, and that they say good morning to each other. So you had to get raped, pillaged, beaten, abused, robbed for the benefit of money, which has no value circulating around, right? Which that's not a benefit, because if I print the money, I also decide who I'm going to give a lot of it to and who I'm not, right? So it's like, y'all know how it goes down in the States, right? You own two identical houses, put one in a white neighborhood, one in a black neighborhood, completely keep everything exactly the same number of teachers, doctors, scientists, blah, 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 in each neighborhood. And the black neighborhoods are going to be valued at thousands upon thousands of dollars less than the white neighborhoods, right? That's what their money does. Their money determines which house is worth more, which neighborhood is worth more. That's not a favor. That's not a favor, right? Because when they do that, now they ultimately control the resources, because they can decide, well, we pay white people $10 for it, we pay black people $1 for it, and then you're running around celebrating because now you have $1. And they did you a favor to come and do business with you. That's foolishness, family. Moan. You gotta know, I'm like, what? What are we talking about here? It's like people that think the what? Listen, I just, and of course I'm taking all these licks, right? Because people are like, I don't understand, right? They want to tell me I don't understand how good, the Queen's been to them. I don't understand that, like the whole thing I was talking about with the education system. I don't understand what they're talking about when I say, I know exactly what you're talking about when you say they call you white. It is because you are white. Your mind is white. When you come in the house talking that crazy stuff they teach you in school and your grandma looking, right? Like, I remember learning in school that putting Vaseline on your skin is bad for you, right? But I grew up knowing good and how well, when it's cold as crap outside and that hawk is out there, you put that Vaseline on your skin is protected, smooth, nice, protected, and not going to be all cracked up, chapped, and dried up. Now, I don't care what scientists tell anybody. I know what literally protected my skin from the hawk, right? So, oh gosh, now there's like a thing in the way. I don't know what's going on. Okay, whatever. Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I thank God I had a mother who was like, listen, don't believe them white folks. Well, I was little when my mom told me don't believe white folks' lies up in that school. When my mom taught me real history. When my mom was like, listen, them little redskins that they calling Indians, they're not the original people of these Americas. The original people of the Americas was good and black as all of us running around here. Get yourself some real history books that they don't teach you in school and look at the pictures. You look at the pictures of the Iroquois Nation. You look at the pictures of the Cheyenne. You look at the pictures of all of them. Black folks. Black as me and blacker. Okay? And now I've seen in my lifetime, they got whiter and whiter. At least when I was a kid, they were red. They at least looked like mixed. Now they all the way white running around. Talking about my land rights in North Dakota and stuff. Wait, what? Your land rights? You look like the Queen. How did you get these land rights? How are you running around talking about your indigenous? It's like this absurd thing I saw with this guy down in Australia because he had a great-great-grandfather who was an Aborigine, and he's as white as my toilet. Okay? Talking about he's indigenous because he had a great-great-grandfather who was an Aborigine. But the rest of them great-grandparents and the rest of them grandparents and your parents, they was white as snow. You're not indigenous. But he wants indigenous people's rights. Like, at what point are we going to, as a people, say, we're not drinking the freaking Kool-Aid anymore? Now, it just so happens to be that this stuff is being discussed in the United Nations and in global circles right now. But ignorant black folks are running around here not knowing that who they think is smart, not to say that they're not smart, but the why they think they're smart is because they have proven to serve the agenda of the oppressor. And who they think are criminal, it is because they have proven not to serve the agenda of the oppressor. And if the oppressor calls you a criminal for not serving their agenda, that's one thing. But doggone it, can we stop looking at each other like we're criminal for not serving that agenda? Can we stop looking at each other like we're crazy for not like listening to Paul in the Bible? I'm sorry, Paul had some moments, but he was stone cold crazy and he wasn't called to us. He was for the Gentiles. We are not the Gentiles. Half that crazy stuff he was talking don't apply to us. I'm not going to say he didn't have some brilliant stuff, and I'm not going to say there's not stuff that Paul said that we can use. I love Romans. You know, Romans 8's a beautiful thing. Like, he had some moments, but like, we stake our soul's claim on Paul, and Paul wasn't even sent here to talk to us. But go to church, go to a black church and say that today and see if you don't get. You can sooner deny Christ himself than you can deny Paul. I'm telling you right now, we have to come out if we are going to build. And I keep getting all this flack because I turn a lot of people away and I alienate a lot of people. And it's like, why can't I just build with all black people? I'm not building on sand, family. I'm not building on sand. I have a very specific mission to build a very specific type of global nation. And it will not be built on lies. It will not be built on deceit. It will not be built on misinformation. It will not be built on ignorance. It will not be built on colonist agendas. It just won't be. Moan. Sure as I'm black. Sure as I'm black. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I'm not here for your religion and your this and your that and your that and this. I don't care about that. If the Most High haven't spoken wisdom to you and told you how to get your mind out, or at least told you that you need to get your mind out, and at least whispered to you that something is amiss, somewhere you have swallowed some lies, you are regurgitating some lies, maybe you don't know where they are, maybe it's going to take some time to figure them out, because I'm still uncovering stuff that I'm like, ain't this a mess? I really believe that was true, and here it is a total and complete lie. You know, it was only very recently that I got the revelation that the Most High was like, if you don't stop talking about you grafted in to these white folks, Jewish lineage, they are imposters. Know who you are. You're my child. You're my chosen. You're my legacy. I'm like, wait, what? They not the Jews? For real? Most High's like, absolutely not. Y'all started down in South freaking Africa and took 40 years wandering Africa. You did not spend 40 years wandering that little piece of land that they want to call the Middle East, North Africa. No. Like, I just got that, like, within the last year and a half or something. So I don't expect any of us to have it all together. But we have got to stop defending. When somebody comes with the knowledge and the wisdom and the insight that can free your mind, stop defending what you thought you knew because it's comfortable. And because somebody hurt your feelings one time and you got like a vendetta. Right? Which is what this whole stop telling our kids to get good grades that they're acting white is about, right? It's like somebody was like me. They were the token black kid. And folks called them white. So now they got a problem with that. Well, it's better off if you recognize how you was being white. So that your children don't fall into that trap. So that they don't have to be 40 trying to figure out who they are. And realizing that they built an entire life based on nothing that has any resonance with their own truth. So I don't know. I wish I could get you to call in, Moan. I'd love to hear your thoughts, man. What's your thoughts? I mean, talk to me. And like, I really wish you could call in. I got to figure out how to be able to get people to call in with this new Belizean number I got. I had to figure something out. So yeah, we have to let that go. The colonizers have done nobody any favors, and the extent to which they approve of you is the extent to which you have probably lost your mind. Point freaking blank. Point freaking blank. There's a reason that the Most High said that they should never be above us at all. They should not be teaching us. They don't even belong in our houses of worship. He literally said, leave them in the courtyard. Let them, if they want to help, they can tend the doors, they can sweep and stuff. They can't even come in the congregation. They can't even come in. He said, you can be kind. If they want to live amongst you and stuff, that's fine. Give them little jobs. You know the kind of jobs the Most High tells us to give them? Let them carry water and chop wood and stuff like that. Nice little simple stuff. They don't get to be our doctors. They don't get to be our teachers. They don't get to be our judges. They don't get to hold any positions of authority over us at all. Never, ever. Why? Because they're crazy and we will go following after they're crazy. The Most High said, no, don't do that. Right? I'm not with that agenda where people say we got to go kill them all. That we don't have to do that. They're going to kill their own selves. Okay? And yes, we do have to tolerate when they're amongst us, but we absolutely should not be having babies with them. We should absolutely not be marrying them. And I know that's hard to hear. It's hard for me to say because my daughter, bless her heart, is with a colonizer right now. And all the praises that she gives this man on Facebook. She is a poster for the swirl right now. But guess what? He can't come visit when she come. And I don't want to hear about him. And when I see her little post about him, I just swipe right past it like I don't see it. Because that doesn't mean anything to me. Her union with him, to me, is just imaginary and a phase. It's just, to me, it's just like as if she was smoking crack and telling and praising crack. Or, I know, Mom. I know. The Most High said don't do it for a reason. For a reason. I have seen the product of it, and they are some confused children that come from those unions. They don't know who or what they are. They are a walking contradiction of energy. And it takes so much to neutralize that wickedness inside of them. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. And it can never be done if we lift them up. They must be humble. They must be humble by design within the societies that we construct. Their positions must always be that where they are serving in humility. And when you make them your boo, now you've made them your equal. They could never be our equal. I'm sorry. I know some people think that's mean and everything, but I don't care about mean. I got to speak truth. The dog is never going to be my equal. He's just not. The cow is not my equal. The butterfly is not my equal. All of them are here under my dominion. And the colonizers could never be my equal. They're not supposed to be. Ever, never. Their own salvation, their only chance of salvation and redemption is through their humility in serving faithfully in positions of humility and learning what they can from us who are wise. But instead, we want to be fools because we want their favor and this and that, and we want to lift them up and raise them up so that now we tell our children how brilliant and wonderful they are if they sign on to their agenda. We congratulate our children when they sign up for the military. We congratulate our children when they go into those halls of academia and go get taught how to lose their mind. And it's just, I'm over it. And family, I hope that you get over it too. And I know this is a harsh thing to hear, but it's true. And the fact is, the best and brightest and smartest of us are either dead in prison. I'm sorry. I know y'all don't like to hear that neither. But that spirit of rebellion against that which has no right to dominate us. They're the strongest ones. They are shot dead and in prison. They are not your senators and your principals. And I'm not trying to knock people, because I know that there are plenty strong, powerful black folks that are rising in these different positions. But please know, the best, strongest, and brightest of us or on drugs. They're either strung out on drugs, in prison, or dead. Because it is excruciating to be aware of what is going on. And it is almost impossible for the best and brightest of us to acquiesce and to assimilate. We rage out, and then these are the results of that raging. It's just the facts. So we have to change that narrative. We got to reteach ourselves. Remember, these are the days when good is called evil and evil is called good. This is the day when up is down and down is up. These are the days when everything is bass backwards, as my mom says. So unbass backwards your mind. Yes, it is very true that if your child is able to assimilate to that system, they're probably going to have to act white in a lot of ways. They're going to have to talk white, and on and on. So we're at 42 minutes. I thought I was going to keep it under 30. I wasn't paying attention to the time. I see I lost my one little faithful follower that watches, but it's okay. I know some of you will catch this later. Shabbat Shalom, family. I pray that you all got something from this. I love y'all. We're going to keep fighting. Revolution is definitely not a game. Hit me up if you're interested in any of these projects we got going down here, these investments and some of this agribusiness stuff. And yes, Moan, I'm finna call you. Word. One love. Peace out. And Team Yeshua, Team Ma'at all day long.